guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a couple of skid steer implements that we purchased this year from Danuser, and kind of go over how we use them and what we use them for and how they've been working for us. Now we got this S75 mega mixer here that we purchased back in February, and then recently this Danuser T3 T-post driver that we got back in August. We've had the ability to use both of these quite a bit, mostly the mixer, and I kind of wanted to go over what I like about it and what I don't like about it and all the various types of things that we can use it for. So stay tuned. So the first thing we'll talk about here is this S75 mega mixer. And it's pretty much a mixing bucket for all kinds of stuff. You can mix dirt in it. They say you can mix topsoil and different stuff up to like 1-inch rock, I'm pretty sure, and a couple other different things, asphalt and concrete. But what we mainly use it for is sacked concrete. We use a lot of it for that because we build a lot of fence for other people, and we use it there. And we also use it here on our farm for mixing up concrete as well. So use it to mix up our seed, as you might have seen in some of my videos. We use it to mix up our chicken feed and some cattle and horse feed as need be. But the first thing is for concrete use. We'll go over how we use it for that. So this feature here is really nice. This is what they call a bag buster. So you take your concrete sacks and you drop them on here, and it just cuts the bag open. You just lift it up and dump it in, and it'll hold up to about 20 sacks. And you can buy a hopper extension. This is called a 3/4 yard bucket. You can see they got it cut in right there, and you can extend it and make it a full yard bucket. Now I'm using it with the Bobcat T650 skid steer, and when it's full of concrete, it's pretty heavy, but this machine I think could handle another 1/4 yard, no problem, especially if I put a rear weight kit back there on the back. But it seems to do pretty good, no problem when it's full. So you got your 2 hydraulic hoses here that you hook up to run the auger down in here. It takes a little bit of time to get used to it and how to place your concrete as far as mixing it, because what'll happen is sometimes if it gets too dry and you're going with the auger the wrong way, it'll get clogged up in there and it'll bind up and it won't work. So it just takes some getting used to, but you kind of got to leave a little bit of water going and just watch it and have somebody pouring the concrete in here and then somebody running the machine. So you got that, and it comes with 2 sides, and they chutes that go down here on the discharge area where you open it to get the material out. So you get one over here and one over here, and you can get a couple more chutes as need be. And they got a hose deal, which we got, and I haven't used it yet, but I'll show it to you. And it can go on here as well. So another cool thing about this is you can undo these 2 pins down here on each side, and you can move the skid steer plate off of this side over to here, and that changes which side you discharge chutes on. So it can either be on the left or the right, and that's pretty handy to have. So my biggest complaint with this setup is how these chutes attach on here. So if you're driving a skid steer that has a frontward opening door that swings out, you have to set this thing all the way down to get in and out. So the issue is once you have one of these chutes on, you can't lower this thing because the chute is on here and it won't lift up if you let it down. You can see I've kind of bent these a little bit, trying to get it to where, you know, you may let it down a little too far and then realize, oh crap, I gotta have somebody take the chute off first. So Danuser, if you're watching, it would be nice if you could make these chutes kind of like a concrete truck style. So they got a hook that comes out and it attaches on the outside, and they got a solid stock piece of steel. So if you made this to where it had solid pieces of steel right here that stuck out, and the chute could latch on here and hook over those, you could lower it down and it would just pivot on those hooks, and when you go to take it off, you just raise it up and take it off. So if you've ever seen the concrete truck chute, that's how they are, and that would probably help solve this issue to where you could lower it down. Because the problem we run in with is we may be setting a line of post, pouring concrete, and I mean maybe going along dispensing concrete and to post, and my dad's over there plumbing the post, setting them, and I have to go back once I'm empty and start spraying this and washing off the concrete and get ready for the next load. And he has to stop what he's doing and take the chutes off, and then I got to hang them back on here. So if I could just leave the chutes on, go back, let it down, and they would just by down pressure, they just raise up because they're not locked in like they are here. I could get out and just simply take them off. So that's my issue with that. The other problem that we've had, but it was covered under warranty, was there is a bushing under here. It's a spot that takes grease, and in there's a little bushing. So we used this thing maybe like 2 hours, and that had went out already, but it was under warranty and we had it replaced, no problem. They took care of it, and I haven't had any problem with it since then. And they thought that I just didn't grease it, but if you know me, if it's got a grease cert, I'm going to grease it. So I had it greased really well, and the bushing in there just broke. But anyway, I got it fixed. So this is how it augers out and comes out this chute. Now I will tell you, if you're pouring concrete with this thing, make sure you keep this clean, and otherwise it gets pretty hard to open if you let concrete build up on there. But since we mix feed, we keep it extremely clean and don't let any concrete get built up on it. So another reason they call this a mixing bucket is they got these edges on here, and supposedly you're supposed to be able to tilt it forward, drive in and mix up your concrete or whatever. And we used it for that, and it just doesn't work like I thought it would. So one of the reasons I don't really like it for that is because you're fully extending your tilt cylinders on your skid steer and then driving into a pile, and I just don't like that negative pushback on my cylinders when they're fully extended. And the other issue is when you go to put material in there, and like I said, I've only used it a couple times this way and it didn't really work out for us that well, but there may be a trick to getting it to that I just don't know. But the issue I had was I'd try to mix up some concrete. So I drove into the sand pile, scooped a little bit of sand up, drove into the rock pile, scooped a little bit of rock up, and maybe had a half a yard of both of them in here in the tub. And with the weight of that, with no water, it kind of binds the auger up, so it wouldn't want to turn, so I had to get a shovel. But next time we did it, I just put this on the skid steer and filled it full of water first, which you can't do this if you wanted to drive into a pile, because when you tilted the bucket down and drove into it, it dumped the water out. But I put water in it first, We put the bucket on the tractor, drove into the rock pile. I had the auger going, poured the rock in, poured the sand in and the mortar mix, and got it to work that way. So if you got two machines, you can mix up your own concrete like that, and it worked pretty good for us. But the best thing that this is used for is bagged concrete. It works awesome for that and mixing feed and mixing seed. And we really like it for mixing the seed because I can just mix up whatever seed mix we want to drill, mix it up, then drive up, and then auger it straight into the grain box on the drill. And that's really great for us because we were mixing it by hand in the bucket, then dumping it in there, but that worked awesome. So other than those few things, we've been really happy with it. It saved us a lot of back-breaking labor as far as moving concrete sacks around, especially when you got to mix up 2 or 3 pallets for a job. And we really like having this thing, but there's just a few things I'd like to see improved on it. But other than that, let's take a look at the T3 post driver. So I don't have a whole lot of video of actually using this because I haven't had anywhere to get any good footage because you can't really see what it's doing. But essentially they got several different options. You can have a bar to where it slides out and the post driver mounts over here on the edge of your loader, like say out here, and you can drive down the fence line. That'd probably be okay if you're just driving T-posts and soft ground, but I don't like to have something that far out on my skid steer loader where it's pushing down and kind of twisting on the loader. Say if you're driving like 2-inch pipe, I think it's rated for like 2 3/8 or 2 7/8, one of the two. We drove one down here and it drove it, but I just didn't want having it out here and say we're driving into some rock and putting down pressure on it and having it be on the edge of the loader. I just didn't want that option. So we just got the standard plate. It can mount here in the center or it can mount off to the side. We haven't used it on the side yet, but we've been using it on the center. We've built probably, I don't know, 2 miles of barbed wire fence with it so far for customers, and it's been awesome. We used to just take the loader and push the post in, and that did okay until you got into some little rocky ground or by tree roots and stuff like that. Here recently we had to build a fence across a gravel road and set the T-post in gravel and use this, and it drove it right through some compacted gravel pretty good. And it also did it through tree roots really good. Really good. So this just plugs in up here and it essentially acts like a jackhammer, and the T-post goes in under here. So when you put down pressure on that, the way we do it is we stick the T-post in the ground, put the driver on it, and you start pushing down until you start hitting resistance like you think it's going to bend the T-post, and then I just actuate the lever in the cab to turn on the driver portion, and it drives it on down in the ground, and it works really well. The only real maintenance on this is there's a grease zerk there and one there, and there's one more here on the back. You got to make sure you keep those greased because that thing moves up and down in there. But other than that, we haven't had any issues with it, other than these hose guards coming off. And this isn't really a good style of clamp. These things came off within like 3 hours of use. I like the Bobcat version, how they clamp theirs on. It goes all the way around and crimps the whole thing, and that's been on there since 2012. So maybe look at changing those and crimping it around this hydraulic line. But other than that, this thing's been really good. It's easy to hook up. Just normal skid steer. You can use this on a tractor even. and you can use that on a tractor even. And speaking of tractors, if you don't have a skid steer mount, you could have forks, and you can just hook your forks in right there, and you can chain it around these latches, and it does pretty good on that. So anyway, I got a couple little videos of footage here of this stuff working, and thank you guys for watching. Hopefully if you're looking at purchasing one of these mixers or the driver, this video will help you out. If you're not already subscribed, please make sure you subscribe, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.